Good morning. Okay, first product we are going to start Active Directory because that is the sequence, right? After that,
Mm-hmm.
we are going to jump Wintel actually. First, we'll start Active Directory, and from basic and to advanced level up to L3, L4 level actually. Okay,
Okay.
so before starting this Active Directory journey, so what is your understanding about Active Directory and till what level you work till now? Because it's you are very senior resource in the current project, if I can understand. So what is understanding on Active Directory services as a whole actually? Yeah.
I consider myself as I don't know anything. So I
Mm-hmm.
I am relying completely on you to make me understand how things work. But yes, I
Okay.
worked with this. So I work with user creations. I work with AD, group management, access management. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't work with the GPOs
Mm-hmm.
and all these deployments, DNS servers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I don't work on advanced levels.
Okay, no problem. So I'm just going to start from basics. You already knowing all those things. Let me just start for Active Directory. So in short, you can say Active Directory is a like kind of identity provider, right? So one of the solutions as from the Microsoft, and there are other providers also. You must heard about Okta. Did you?
Yes, I've heard about it, but I don't know what it does. Just heard the
Yeah.
name.
So Okta is like mostly Google prefer that Okta solution. So Okta is like the competitor for Microsoft, but the competition with Microsoft Active Directory with Okta because Okta has only 5% business. But yes, it is very popular with Google Cloud actually, Okta solutions, and also they are now increasing their market. But yes, Active Directory, no competition with Okta you can make in the real time. But yes, they are another service provider. Okay, so Active Directory is the kind of identity provider which take care of your everything like authentication, authorization, and manage your complete, organization level controls, IAM, right? You understand identity, access, and management, all those things for your company, for your organization, right? That is that is uh, that is controlled by complete Active Directory services, right? And coming to Azure Active Directory services, right? That is uh, Azure cloud part, and we cover into Azure cloud. Okay, so let's talk about the structure of Active Directory, Gurmeet, right? So how it is looks like and how it works actually. So if we talk about, first we have Forest. Okay, the Forest is the top level control, you can say, within the Active Directory, Microsoft. And within so Forest you can think of like Anglo American as an organization. I forgotten the exact name for Anglo as a like domain or Forest. I think angloamerican.com, something like that, right?
It's
So
anglo.local. Yeah.
anglo.local, yeah, so you reminded me, recall. I was It's like long back, right? So within the Forest, suppose you have any Forest is there will be multiple domains, right? So like D1 kind of, right? And you have D2. So you can think of like in your reference project, DBers and other kind of, right? Like that.
Mm.
So D3 and so on, right? So you have one Forest means one organization top level hierarchy actually. Forest is the top level, right? And as a part of you have multiple domains. So suppose forest.local, like, right, is your for like main,
Hmm.
top level hierarchy, and you have domain something, you know
Hmm.
dot forest dot local, something like that, right? So D1, D2, D3. So within the domain you are going to create your sites, right? So there will be like multiple sites actually. S1 like data center or location specific you are going to create, right? S2 site 2 and so on. You can say site 3 also, right? So in the same way, here it will be also like S1, 2, and 3. Okay, and S1, S2, S3. So you started from the forest, you created the multiple domains within the forest, and you have multiple sites within the respective specific domains, right, sir?
Mm-hmm.
And coming to sites, now you are going, what you are going to create, you are going to create OUs, right? Let me change the color. So organizational unit you are going to use. In our discussion, we were talking about GPOs, right? Group policies, all those things, right? So all the GPOs will be applying on OU level. Okay, so every site has their OUs. There will be OUs will be there, and you can apply your policies, right, according to
Hmm.
your company requirements, right? OUs are there. So this is like a structure, and within the OUs, like you're going to apply the policies and everything. And within the site, there will be your users, computers, workstation, any attributes which is lying in your company infrastructure, which is a part of your company infrastructure, that is physical or logical, anything actually, that will be part of your complete Active Directory. So in Microsoft terminology, they call it as a tree. So it's this kind of tree structure.
Hmm.
So a tree structure, like start from forest, go to down, domain, and then sites, and within sites we have OUs structure, right? Is it clear?
Yep.
Okay. So coming to this thing. So they talk about some sort of things, physical objects and some logical objects, right? So, what is your understanding in this? What are the physical objects and what are the logical objects within the Active Directory?
Physical object are the your local systems, hardware. Could be any hardware. Could be printer, laptop, desktop, anything which is
Workstations, yeah, yeah.
workstation. And logicals
Servers.
are your users,
Mhm,
security groups,
mhm.
and distribution list. All those
Right.
at.
Right, right. So you got it right actually, and also just to add on this, like our domain controller, because we are studying this Active Directory, so we should name domain controller as a server. So those, suppose you have physical server, all those things kind of, so those will be treated as your physical entity, right? Coming to forest, what will be the forest? It will be logical only, right?
Yep.
And domain, again logical,
Again. Yep.
but domain controller, DC,
Hmm.
it's a like, you will not treat it like
Yeah.
logical, right? It will be
Yeah.
something is there, right? It's a physical.
Hmm.
So you started with all those things we are talking about. All those are logical actually entries, you can say forest, domain, sites, and your OU. So all those things you are creating as a within the your as a logical entity. But
Hmm.
you start from your, like you already told, printers, your workstations, laptop, any device actually, any hardware device which is part of your domain, that will be treated as a physical, right? Clear? Very
Hmm.
simple actually. It's a basic one, so need not to talk about. What about the Active Directory components? What are the Active Directory components actually?
Don't know.
So the same thing. We have like forest, we have like domains, right?
Hmm.
Sites, and within the site we have uh, organizational unit. So all those things are your components, and you have physical,
Okay.
logical. We are going to discuss in detail why domain controller required, what is FSMOs. We are going to
Hmm.
discuss all those things, but you should know these basic things. Actually, this is very basic actually for Active Directory. Okay, so they're talking about logical structure, physical structure, right? And so you are going to all those things. So coming to this thing actually. Can you see this as a picture?
Yes, can.
So objects and attributes. So we talked about like computers, users, printers, anything, right? So those
Mhm.
will be treated as an object, right? So any workstation name or any server name will be treated as a you can say as a object, right? So you have like computers, users, and within the users, if you are mentioning like Ratnesh Pandey, right?
Mm.
Gurmeet Singh. So all those things you are we call as a like attribute. We call as like attribute. We named as a attribute. The first name, last name. We create user accounts. All those things, right?
Mhm.
So we call as a like you attributes actually. And one sec. So definition was I'm not going to talk about what is Active Directory. This is like basic. So I'm just skipping this. And how we will define this attributes actually? What are the attributes?
Attributes are any detail are the details of your object, or
Hmm.
the properties of your object are attributes.
Right. And what are the classes? It's very basic actually. What are
Don't
the
know what
classes?
are classes. The collection of attributes classes, as I can read it.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like you have users as a bundle, right? So
Okay.
user will be your like users you have, and you have OUs, and you have computers. So if
Mhm.
you will go to the lab also, we have lab also, online lab available. We'll walk through. So by definition wise, you can know what is attribute, what is classes. So it's like a group of attributes. Means you have user class, you have you have your domain classes, you have computer classes, kind of thing. Okay, so it's a group of things similar to that.
Okay.
uh, yeah. So the components as we seen in our in the course structure. So what are the components already? We talked about a forest, right? We talked about
Mhm.
domain, we talked about sites, we talked about OUs, right?
Okay.
So uh, those are your components of Active Directory.
Hmm.
But if you talk about like as a physical and logical, so one thing we
Mhm.
have to add as a DC, domain controller.
Mhm.
Because without domain controller, your Active Directory
Hmm.
will be not completed. So exactly what is the role of domain controller, and what is your thought process on DCs?
Hmm. The domain controller is a primary system that controls on which AD works, and it's, I don't know, is the one which controls everything. Is a
Okay.
primary server that controls everything.
You heard about FSMO?
I've heard about it, never don't know what it is. Yeah, I know
Uh,
FSMA roles are there,
mm-hmm.
which is like a DC role, PDC role,
Mm-hmm.
something like
Right,
that.
right.
Correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
All right.
yeah. Correct, correct. Yeah, there are like five FSMO rules. We will talk about in details
Mhm.
all about those those FSMO rules, because that is part of Active Directory. So
Mhm.
if you domain controllers are like you know uh, you can say main brains for the Active Directory infrastructure, right? And if you compare with Azure Active Directory, so uh, got it, like things got changed like anything actually. If you talk about AAD, Azure AD, right? But if you talk about on-premise, so we have like on-premise Active Directory, and we have cloud Active Directory like AAD, Azure AD. So
Mhm.
here, because in cloud-based Active Directory, you are not going to see any domain controllers, what is in the backend, if they're running FSMO or not. But yes, in the backend, they are running everything, and they are using all those technologies which is underlined, because you you can just recall your knowledge of OSI layers, right? TCP IP
Mhm.
order layers, all
Mhm.
those 7 layers, 5 layers, those things are not going to change, even in cloud world as well. right? Those are
Mhm.
standards. Those are, frameworks actually, and those are still in existence. And same thing will be followed in Active Directory. You talk about your VMware layer, virtualization, hypervisor, or cloud also. All those things are intact with the 7 layers. You start from, your physical data link, network, transport, all those things. So it is going to follow. It is going to follow the same framework in cloud as well as on premise, right?
Yeah.
So component wise, I think you got clarity. We already discussed actually these things. So I think any question on this?
Nope. Nope.
It's pretty simple,
Okay.
right? You have
Yeah.
forest is there, right? And within the
Hmm.
forest, you have multiple domains, and within domains, you're creating, site is not mentioned here, but site is part
Hmm.
of this OUs, right? So for respective